Welcome to Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Kingsley Emmanuel, and I'm very happy to be here this morning to bring you up to speed with the latest happening revolving around the world of sports. Top one out menu this morning, Nigerian Handball Federation invited team players ahead of African Youth Championship. And coming in from the world of tennis, Coco Gauff wins teenage battle to reach US Open third round. And in football, UEFA Champions League group stage draw holds today. These and many more will be yours after the short timeout. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network. Joining me on today's edition of the show is Sarah David. Good morning to you, Sarah, and welcome to Sports Talk.
Good morning. Nice to do this with you this morning for the very first time. Sometimes, it's always nice, you do it with some of your junior colleagues. And I'm happy, the young shall grow.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. All right, so let's start the show with athletics. As the Nigerian Athletes Commission has congratulated the new Minister of Sport, Senator John Eno, on his appointment. The Commission made this known to journalists from its annual General Assembly. It congratulated the minister and charged him to focus more on an improved welfare package for Nigerian athletes. Sarah, talking about the welfare package for athletes, it's been something we've been hearing for some time now, especially the just completed World Athletics Championship. The Athletics Federation of Nigerian President Sidobo Okowa said the reason for the abysmal performance of the athlete was due to poor funding, and John Owaino, the new sports minister, has come up to say that it's going to improve the athletes' welfare. What do you make of this gesture from the sports minister?
Well, I haven't seen that story when the new minister says, he was going to do something about the athletes' welfare. But then if he says he will do, then it's a welcome development, because over the years, one of the reasons why we haven't done well is the fact that some of our federations are moribund and it affects, our performance. But then, you don't have to all the time, expect the Federal Ministry of Sports, to dole out the funds and all of that. What are the marketing departments of these, associations doing, the federations doing? They should be able to engage in aggressive marketing. And that's one thing that makes, sports in even, African countries like South Africa strive. When you bring the private sector into all of this, it becomes easy. Sometimes you may not get a full sponsor, but then, you have someone who partners. When you say partners, they try to, shove some of the burden away from you. For instance, you're partnering with a water company. Whenever the athletes, are training and all of that, they are very sure that, you don't have to buy water again. You get water. So I think, the marketing departments of this association should do more. But then, I don't want to cut any slack to Okowa for saying that, we were medalists because of the fact that we didn't have money. He is a big boy in Nigeria. He knows who is who. He knows what to do on how to get money. So he shouldn't come out and start telling us that it was because, we didn't have money and that was what affected our preparation. We have seen situations where this is Nigeria. We see most of our athletes, most times, they prepare even when there's no support from the government. They do these things on their own. So I think it was just something that I think, they had poor preparation, not just because of fund. The fund will be a factor, I agree. But then, like I said, what is the marketing department of these various associations, federations or associations doing? They have to, it's a wake-up call. They just have to wake up. Government cannot do all of this alone. Even though, yes, the government also has, they have to share some part of the blame. But then I think the federations, the marketing department of these federations, the heads of this federation, that's talking about the president, they should do more. We talked about the fact that we need men with the wherewithal, those who have the financial muscle to become president and then being in charge of our federations. That's because we need people that at some point you can also put in your money to say, okay, let me also put in my money to achieve this. Today I'm the chairman of Sport Writers River State. We're going to be having an event tomorrow. If we don't get enough fund from the purse of the association, I have to bring from my end, because at the end of the day, if we feel the core of the blame, rest on my shoulder. So I mean, we need people who have the wherewithal, and Okowa has the wherewithal. So you shouldn't come out telling us that, that was one of the reasons we failed. The likes of Toby Amoso, yes, I will agree, she had issues, going to the World Cup. The fact that, she was victimized, let's say victimized, because she had, some suspension, or positively victimized, let's say positively, because it is something that the Athletics Integrity Unit were the ones, who looked at it, and of course they felt, okay, we must keep the sports clean. And now that, you failed to appear for 3 whereabouts tests, that means there is something. So she was suspended based on their findings. I think for Toby Amoso, one of the reasons why she couldn't live up to the billings was the fact that she probably would have psychologically, had, some trauma. She would have been affected psychologically going into the competition. And of course, she had less preparation. And for the reports coming from the AFN had it that while, she was undergoing, while she was suspended and the investigations were ongoing, her coach had to leave Nigeria, leave her and then join the Jamaican team, for preparation. So she had a lot of distractions. I mean, and psychologically, she was really down when at some point, because, you were suspended, your coach had to even leave you to join Jamaica and all of that. So a lot of factors. But I think, the bulk of it ends with, if you ask me, preparation. Once you have preparations, once you fail to prepare, then you are just ready to fail. And I'm sure that was what affected Nigeria. We always want to do things a fire brigade approach. I always tell people, you can't get lucky all the time. We do this fire brigade approach, and most times we say the best of us comes out during fire brigade approach. You won't be lucky all the time. If you don't have something, you have to prepare. And if you don't prepare, you are doomed to fail.
All right, let's see what comes up for the Athletic Federation of Nigeria. I believe they've learned a whole lot from what happened at the just concluded World Athletics Championship. And we pray that the new sports minister will try as much as you can to increase the welfare for the athletes, going forward as well.
Talking about the new sports minister, I think that's even where you brought the question, and I left him and had to look at, a shabby medalist, outing at the World Championship. I think the sports minister, unfortunately or fortunately for us, let me use the 2 words, because sometimes, you could get someone who does not belong, who is not from that environment, and the person gets to do well. And that's why I said fortunately or fortunately, we have a minister who hasn't been, around sports. He openly said it, that he knows nothing about sport. But it looks like the way he's going about business, he could bring something to the table. I mean, you look at his track record, you could tell that, he has something to offer. So we hope that, we find one sports minister who will have, the athletes at heart, who want to look at, those things that the athletes want and then ensure that, they get them. A minister for sports that will not just, focus on football, will give attention to every other sport. Look at how well, the D Tigers, are doing at the moment. I mean, we had a handball team, we have, our volleyball team, We have, the rugby team, getting set for a world championship and all of that. I think a minister who will give attention to every other sport and not just football. We just hope that, we just stay positive and hope that, something positive comes from this particular minister and then probably sets the pace for another minister that will take over for him. But first, he just came on board. Let's not talk about another one that will come.
Let's see what he brings to the table first, and then we'll see how sport, of course, will be in a few years to come down here in Nigeria. Still talking about athletics, Team Nigeria won 7 medals, comprising 2 gold, 2 silver, and 3 bronze at the just concluded World Para-Lifting Championship in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Sarah, para-athletes are always, making Nigerians, proud.
They've done pretty well over the years, You must give credit to one-time commissioner for sports in Ondo State, who is the president of the side, and right now he's in charge. He was the president of special athletes, but right now he's in charge of the head of the Special Athletes Federation marketing department. He's done pretty well. He's motivated this player as well, and I think the special athletes, they need more attention. Apart from the fact that they are the ones who's been bringing more glory to Nigeria than the able athletes. I mean, aside the fact that they bring more glory, the fact that they are special, we must give them more attention, and of course it's a good one. And then in most cases you find out that it is even the ladies and the special athletes that do more. Of course, even in the able body athletes, the ladies are the ones who bring more glory. But then it's a good one, and we hope for something better for the special athletes, and of course we hope that there's a quality reward system for these special athletes.
All right, so interesting one from the special athletes, and of course we look forward to see an interesting performance, like this going forward. Still talking about athletics, the Nigerian para-athletes are ready to compete against their peers from across the continent when the Ghana 2023 African Para Games begin. The Para Committee Nigeria have disclosed the games, which are held from 10th to 12th of September in Accra, Ghana, will serve as a prelude to the main All-African Games scheduled to hold in Ghana next year. Now, according to the president of Paralympic Committee Nigeria, Sunday Ode, the athletes have been training hard for the Ghana 2023 African Para Games, and they are fully ready for the podium to make the country proud. Once again, we're seeing the para athletes putting up another impressive display at this championship in Ghana.
Well, I have no fear when the subject is the para-athletes, probably because, they know that, they are physically challenged and they put more effort so they can't be recognized. I feel terribly bad, anytime I think about, their condition. But then, what spurs them and probably, makes them do well, it's something that one cannot say. But it's a good one. They are competing in Ghana. They will get, even more familiar with the terrain, especially having in mind the next, games, the next African Youth Games, will be held in Ghana. And of course, if they do well, it will spur them, to even do well when they get to the Olympics. So we have the Commonwealth Games, the All-African Games, I beg your pardon, around the corner. And then after which we also have the World Athletics the World Championship again, ahead of us. So it's a good one. And then we just hope that, they continue their shine, even, as they take part in this championship in Ghana.
All right, so let's stay away from that as we take a look at volleyball on the show. The Nigerian men and women beach volleyball teams have picked tickets to participate in the Beach Volleyball World Championship in Thailand later this year. Nigerian women's team is settled for a silver medal at the just concluded 2023 Under-21 Beach Volleyball Championship in Morocco yesterday. Host Morocco beats Nigeria 2-1 in a highly intense match at the beach resort in Casablanca. Meanwhile, the Nigerian men's beach volleyball team finished 5th position at the just concluded Under-21 Beach Volleyball Championship. Now, both teams have qualified for the Under-21 Beach Volleyball Championship in Thailand that comes up in November. Interesting one from the Nigerian Under-21 team, both the male and the female team picking up their ticket for the championship that will be coming up in November, Sarah.
It's a good one. Like I always say, the women are the ones who bring more glory to us. You just ruled out something that the men finished 5th. And of course, But then, eventually they will be at that championship. So we hope that they do well. Unfortunately for us, we do not have the infrastructures for a lot of sports. And this time around, it has to be beach volleyball. And surprisingly for me, even when, we don't have these infrastructures, we tend to do well. Look at our beach football team. We don't have those facilities. We don't even give attention. We've not given enough attention to the league proper, let alone, giving attention to beach volleyball or beach football. But then they tend to do well. We just hope that, they keep that, that green, white, green, flag flying very high. But then, like you said, we wish them all the best in the competition.
Engineer Nimrod, the president of the Volleyball Federation.
Oh, he's done fantastically well. The fact that we have a man like Nimrod at the helm of affairs has been the driving force, has been the magic why our volleyball teams have been doing pretty well. And that's why we kept saying that you must always have, people who have played the sports. People who have played the sports, the fact that they've played the sports, they now know the pains of the athletes. They now know what to bring to the table. And, of course, to crown it all, people who have the wherewithal. Nimrod have done fantastically well for Nigerian Volleyball Federation. And we hope that it's sure going to be difficult because this is the second time he's been elected as the president. And, of course, the Constitution does not allow beyond the 2 tenures. But we hope that he gets to contest. There's a part of the section, the Constitution, that will allow for a president to come back, because he's done really well. And if we do not get somebody who is as passionate as Engineer Nimrod as the president of the Federation, it will crumble. This is Nigeria, where we struggle to even find those who have passion. But, of course, this man has done really well. He's brought a lot of sincerity, a lot of intention into volleyball, and that's why we're getting the results we already get. We hope that eventually when he leaves, we'll get someone even with a stronger passion for the sport and someone who is financially even more buoyant than he is.
Interesting one from the Volleyball Federation, and of course we look forward to see how they will perform come on November. Let's stay away from volleyball to take a look at handball on the show. The Handball Federation of Nigeria has invited 18 players to camp ahead of next month's African Women Youth Handball Nation Championship. The players are expected to report to camp at the Royal Park Training Center in Lagos. The 19th African Women's Youth Handball Nation Championship will take place from 16th to 23rd of September 23 in Monastir, Tunisia, and serve as qualifier for the 2024 Youth Handball World Cup. 14 players who participated at the International Handball Federation Challenge Trophy were invited to the nation's camp as well. Syria Handball has been one of the federation under Samuel Ichewo down here in Nigeria that has actually done a whole lot, especially in the global stage.
You must give, real credit to Samuel Ichewo, another president who has really done well, in his sports. I mean, in the last, 10 years, let's say in the last 8 years, I remember that was just when, I moved into my house. Yes, that was when I attended one of the championships that was held at that same, Royal Park in Lagos. They've done pretty well, and like I said it when we talked about, Engineer Nimrod, if we have square pegs and square hole, we will definitely get the result we're getting from this sport. You must not only talk about, handball and volleyball. Also, one sport that I've made a mark even on the big stage is the Nigerian Rowing, Canoeing and Yachting Federation. When you have people at the helm of affairs, the president of the federation is the retired Rear Admiral Festus Bobeni. Remember very well that we had our first appearance at the London Olympic Games when we had Jonathan Akinyemi, who represented Nigeria. Yeah. And after then, the next Olympics, we now had Cheruka, the lady who studies in, I think, somewhere in the America or so, who represented Nigeria, got to the semi-finals. And so, once you have, square pegs in square hole, you will definitely be getting the result. But then, one thing still drags us back. The fact that we do not have this corporate, entities that come in to partner or probably sponsor has always been a factor that has been working against us. But then, this president we have talked about, because they have the wherewithal, they've been doing very well. And we hope that, like I said, the marketing departments of this association should do more. I know that of handball, they are really doing a lot of marketing. I remember one of the banks, was the one who bankrolled one of their events. I think that particular event I attended in Royal Park, Yaba. So I think, the marketing departments of these various associations should do more. It doesn't just stop with the different sports. I think, that of women's football, which is my, direct primary constituency, should also borrow a leave. And I think, the lady who is in charge, even though we're not yet in football right now, who is the new chairperson of the Nigerian Women Football League, is also doing well. I'm sure she will have to better what Aisha Falode did and drop. But then, for this, different, federations, handball, we hope that, these athletes, these players will live up to the billions and, of course, keep the flag, the green, white, green flag of Nigeria flying really high at the various competitions.
You talk about the marketability of this federation. Did you really have that marketing appeal? Because, for one, you talk about corporate entities investing or trying to sponsor these federations. Whenever you talk about, if an investor wants to actually invest in a particular business or whatever, he or she has at least will expect returns. But at the end of the day, do you see this federation being in that very good position of actually giving these investors some return? What do they stand to benefit if they actually put
I tell you, the major problem we have in Nigeria is about lack of transparency. It is not about, the sponsors not getting some. If I have an event, and take, for instance, Atlantic TV is the one sponsoring the event. Once you have your banners, flying there, that's where, there's that visibility about, your media house. Now, for instance, I'm having a chess competition ongoing, and then, Atlantic TV is the one, sponsoring. They also sell some items and all of that. You also will have an opportunity of having a stand there where, of course, you'll be selling Atlantic television products and all of that. So there's a lot, these companies will have to get if they have to go into partnership and sponsorship. I think, like I said, it is the marketing department or the federations themselves that are not doing enough marketing. But I think for handball, they're doing a lot because Samuel Ochaho, who is the president, is a banker. And so he knows, the importance of marketing. And I think that's one thing that drives, handball.
Interesting. Let's say it goes the different federation in Nigeria, of course, gathering momentum at the moment. And we hope to see this federation of getting sponsorship to help their preparation in a global competition. Let's talk tennis. The US Open, of course, is getting heated already, and it was really an interesting one yesterday as the original teenage star beat the new kid on the block as Kugov knocked 16-year-old Mira Adraville out of the US Open. Golf burst into the scene when she beat Venus Williams on her way to the fourth round at the age of 15. Off-step the Russian Rocky 6-3, 6-2. Was such an impressive, I want to watch as for Kugov, of course, beating the 16-year-old, talking about Andreva.
I remember in 2019 or 2020 when, she burst into the scene and, made a mark. And, of course, along the line, she left. And, of course, there has not been that, level of consistency. But then having won the Grand Slam, 2 weeks ago, I mean, it looks like, she's finally found her mojo back. And, of course, she's getting the job done. But then, remember, it is still early days, and the fact that, she was able to beat 16-year-old, Mira, is not enough for us to begin to say whether or not she's gotten her mojo back. But I think the fact that she won, last month, 2 weeks ago, this month, 2 weeks ago, has given her some level of, motivation, So she's carrying on that motivation, that momentum, going into the U.S. Open. And we hope that she's the one, from America to replace Serena Williams at the end of the day.
All right, we'll see that how that will come to fruition in the coming days. Our defending champion Iga Swiatek of Poland defeated Australian Jara Seville 6-3, 6-4 in New York. Iga Swiatek, of course, gathering momentum for a title defense.
Well, Iga Swiatek is the defending champion of the U.S. Open. When she was ousted last month, I think it was Coco Gauff who was responsible for her exit at the championship, if I'm not mistaken. And then, getting to this level is just, I think they just, qualified to the round 3 of the US Open.
Yeah.
And for Iga Swiatek, if we want to talk about, women's football and the level of consistency that has been brought to women's tennis, I beg your pardon, it's been Iga Swiatek who has been the one, who has brought that level of consistency. She looks like the one, who has taken over from Serena Williams.
Has she been that consistent this
Yes,
year?
she's been that consistent. That's why she remains world number 1. Once you're world number 1, it tells how much of consistency you've brought to the game.
Yeah, but her world number 1 sport now is actually not that very strong because Arina Sabalenka is gradually, bridging the gap.
Of course, you don't expect the other players to fold their hands and be clapping for her. Everyone wants to get to the top, and so that's why you see everyone is putting on their best. And of course, for Coco Gauff, you can see, how well she's doing. It tells you that, there are no minnows, in the game again. And of course, everyone wants to get to the top. But, still, you must give Iga Swiatek, that credit. The fact, the number of the days or months, she's been at the summit of the women's, WTA ranking, it's something to commend her for.
All right, Kazakhstan 4th seed Elena Rybakina advanced to the 3rd round, very walkover after Australian agile Tom Nojovic withdrew with an injury. Now, Williams' 34th US Open was versed to win after it end inside Atocha Stadium. The two-time winner handed a wild card at the age of 43, was beaten 6-1, 6-1 in the first round by Began Greets McNeil. Was such an embarrassing defeat for Venus Williams.
I've always said that it was quite time. She draws draws the curtain, drops the curtain. When the subject is tennis, competitive tennis. She can't be playing tennis, as something she loves, because this is one sport. Serena Williams, her younger sister, and herself, they've lived it, they've eaten it, they sleep it, and they do everything about them. It's tennis, so it's pretty going to be difficult, living tennis proper. But I think, it's high time, she says goodbye to competitive football. Look at her sister. She had to use her tongue to counter it. They say it's good to leave the ovation when the stage is still very high. I don't know why she still gets into competitive football. But then, in most cases, it is even the organizers who, cajoles her, persuades her to come in, because most times, she gets wild card into competition. So probably, yeah, she's still going in for the money, but then, it's taking a lot out of her resume. The fact that, she's been beaten by unknown, entities in tennis and all of that.
All right, let's take a look at the main category as Klozaka has had mixed emotions after being gifted a route into the 2nd round of the US Open because his opponent retired injured. Dominic Kofa rolled his ankle in the opening game of the match and needed a medical timeout to have it heavily bandaged. But the 29-year-old was clearly in a lot of pain and called it a night, with Alcaraz leading 6-2, 3-2. At 7-6, pass so far they shook the feet by qualifier Dominic Stricker in the 2nd round of the US Open. World number 128, Stricker came out on top of a 4-hour epic 7-5, 6-7, 6-7, 6-7, 6-3 in that encounter. I didn't really expect Tsitsipas, of course, to be also that at this stage of the competition.
Sometimes, we don't get a look at,
that matters.
Yeah, sometimes, yes, the big boys, sometimes, when the cookies crumble, they also go down. But then, like I said, I used to tell people, sometimes you don't look at the ranking. The ranking sometimes don't matter. It has to do with the form at the moment. You can take your mind back to what played out at the just ended Women's World Cup, where some of the rankings didn't get to, come to fore. But then, this is tennis that is a good win, a good morale boost, for the man who is ranked 100 and something, beating the likes of Tsitsipas. For Alcaraz, I think it's a good one for him. But then, all of this playing out, I think he's already dethroned as number one. Because all Djokovic needed to do was to, get past the round, the first match, and then, he takes over as world number 1. It's a good one. Let him enjoy that gift he has gotten, the fact that his opponent had to retire due to injury, and of course he's romping into the next round even without, using the baton for anything and all of the rack, I beg your pardon, for anything. But then let him enjoy it while it lasts, because he's definitely going to meet some of the big names, and of course, you can't win all the time. It may be his turn, it may not be his turn. Let's see how things play out.
All right, Casper Wood.
I think they just got They just got to the third round.
Yes. Casper Wood seated fifth, and last runner up lost 4-6, 7-5, 6-2, 6-low, 6-2 to Chinese world number 67 as Sang Sing Hao. But second seed Novak Djokovic cruised through with a 6-4, 6-1, 6-1 win over Spain Benevo Zapata. And that particular encounter, Djokovic still very much optimistic.
And that was an easy ride, for the man Novak Djokovic. I think, he has a lot of records to break, and of course he's heading towards, breaking more records. He has equaled record, but then, he's heading towards breaking it, and I see him, he will break and break more. I think his target, given his age, his target is to get to break the kind of record that it will take the next 1-2 decades for anyone to get to. And that's what I wish for him, because he's one man I love off and on the pitch. He's had less of, issues.
Interesting. Let's see what comes of it. If he wins this one, it makes it 24 Grand Slam for the man. And of course, he'll be looking forward to...
Did you say 24 or 25?
He's on 23 Grand Slam now.
He's on 23. Yes, he's on 23 right now.
So winning this one, make it 24, equaling the record of Mark records. And just like you mentioned, putting up maybe a record that it will be difficult.
So you can imagine the number of years it took anyone to get close to Margaret Court's, victory. I watched her a couple of days ago, on TV when, she was talking about, the chances of some of these players at the US Open. But then, Djokovic also needed a situation where he can replicate a better Margaret Court record that can take decades for anyone to break. The way he's going, something tells me that before retirement, he might get up to 26, 27 Grand Slam, and that would take a good number of decades for anyone to break. It's not easy. Getting Grand Slam title singles, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 20. I mean, you can see the pressure on Serena Williams. She kept pushing, and the more pressure the more pressure that mounts on her, the more she feels. And at some point, she had no option to say, okay, let me just go into partial retirement for now. And of course, the fact that she now has a second child, I don't see her coming back. Probably because it's a sport she loves so much, she can, still be playing tennis as recreation and all of that. But then for Novak Djokovic, I think he still has enough energy, enough gas in the system to also make it up to 25, 26.
All right, so we'll take a short break now, and when we'll come back, we'll dive straight into the beautiful world of football, a whole lot to talk about. Please stay with us.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring.
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood. I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers
on Atlantic Television Network. And of course, we'll bring you the latest revolving around the world of sports. Let's talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria, Sarah. Because as it stands, the Super Eagles do not have a coach presently because Yusuf Basiru's contract has not been reviewed. And yesterday we got a report that the Nigerian Football Federation, they actually gave Yusuf Basiru a 3-day ultimatum to take a pay cut or quit being the coach for the national team. Yusuf Basiru earned $70,000 a month, and the NFF asked him to take a pay cut. Do you think the man should take a pay cut?
When you talk about pay cut now, we don't get to know how much pay cut they want him to take.
Yeah.
It is a practice everywhere since the COVID-19, where of course the economies of various countries have actually gone down, and of course everyone gets in to do. Most coaches, even players, are getting to receive a pay cut from their various football clubs and of course federations. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't accept a pay cut. Is it bigger than some of the coaches in the world? Of course, it's just a journeyman, if you ask me. What has been our playing style ever since he came on board? I was particularly one of those, who felt that we needed a foreign coach, given the fact that, most of our local coaches have been tried and, of course, they failed. I remember vividly very well, it's bitter, but then, we have to say the truth. They say when God will judge, he will start from the Church of God. Let me start with my brother, Imama Amapaka, Port Harcourt boy. He was given an appointment, to tinker the Super Eagles, Team B at, at the last, CHAN qualifiers. And, of course, how far did we go? And then, that was the last CHAN qualifiers before this one that Alasu Yusuf, took them. And then, he was also given another opportunity. He couldn't justify, the opportunity. Our local coaches, Sanusi Yusuf was also given an opportunity. Nothing happened. We remember when, he was drafted, from the Super Eagles Team B back to Enugu Rangers. How well did he go with the Enugu Rangers? He had a short stint with Kano Pillars. How far did he go with Kano Pillars? Our local coaches have not justified their column. If you ask me if there's one coach who is the local coach who is doing very well right now, I must say it might just be Finidi George, and probably because he came without Western mentality. He might be having challenges, and that's because most of these players and coaches who have stayed outside, they tend not to, bitter truth, compromise with some of the things we do, and that's why we don't get to see our best clubs on the continent. And so that's where Finidi might be struggling. But aside that, I still do think that if at the end of the day, NFF does not give Jose Posoro a new contract, I still think that we do not have a local coach at the moment who can live up to the billings. I can't remember. Maybe there is one somewhere that I don't know. But right now, I think I'm still struggling to accept the fact that we have a coach, who can do. Look at, Paul Aigbogo. He was given the under-20 team. We had the worst under-20 competition, when he took over under-20 world outing, when he was in charge of the team. These are the big coaches we have, in the land. Look at Ladan Boso. Was this so fantastic with the team, at the under-20 African Cup of Nations? The answer is no. So we do not have a fantastic coach at the moment. But then he also tells me one thing, that if your employers are saying, okay, we're giving you this condition, and probably maybe the pay cut is something very meager that he doesn't want to accept, your employers might do that just to see that you are the one who says you're not taking, and then they tell you to leave. I think the NFF have just set a trap for the coach to say he wouldn't take, and especially in a situation where you're saying, okay, we're giving you a 3 days ultimatum. 3 days ultimatum is just too close. So I think from the body language of the NFF, they also do not want him to stay. Fine, Nigerians are calling on his head because we haven't seen that fantastic playing style from the Super Eagles, even though we have qualified for the African Cup of Nations with 1 game to spare. But then, he hasn't shown that, that quality of a coach. I mean, what was his pedigree when he came on board? What did he do last with Venezuela, and which was his last coaching job before he came to Nigeria? Obviously, from the body language of the NFF, I'm sure they don't want him. But then if they don't want him, they have to be very fast in everything, because the African Cup of Nations is sometime next year, is around the corner. The next African Cup of Nations that we have is a dead rubber game, so they can just get anybody to tinker the boys, select players, even if they don't want to employ foreign-based, pros to prosecute that game, so they can spend less, and then, probably the match bonuses, travel allowances, and all of that, can be less. They should just get a local coach to get the job done and ensure that they hurriedly work with the new minister to ensure that they get a new coach as quickly as possible, because the African Cup of Nations is just around the corner.
But Nigerians always complain of good football on the pitch, that our boys are not playing well on the pitch. But at the end of the day, this, foreign coaches, they try as much as they can, to qualify us for different competition. That was the same thing we saw.
I don't understand. Haven't you seen our local coaches also qualify us? The late Shuaibu Amodu did that, qualified us to World Cup. I think that was the World Cup in Brazil before he died. I think was it the World Cup in Brazil, or was it the one in, I think the one in Brazil. He qualified us. Then it was in 2013, it was the late Stephen Keshi who also won the African Cup of Nations with us. We have seen coach also qualify us for various competitions. So I'm not saying that, the fact, like I said, I had to cut him some slack, the fact that, okay, he qualified us. But what is his pedigree in coaching? I think it's just, some arrangement from some sections of Nigerians who also want to benefit, from employing, these foreign coaches. If we want to go for a foreign coach, we have the wherewithal. If Ghana can get a certain quality coach, what's his name? What's the name of Ghana national team? I'm struggling to get his name. If Ghana can get a foreign coach as good as the one they currently have now, even though they haven't shown that on the field of play, we can. We have the financial muscle. We have the companies that can partner with the Nigerian Football Federation to see that they also ensure the payment of these coaches. So if we have to get a foreign coach, which for now, I think we don't have a quality local coach that can tinker the Super Eagles to victory at the African Cup of Nations, then the NFF should begin to shop for a quality coach, not a coach who want to share, not to share something with them. You know what I mean when I mean share? Getting somebody who at the end of the day, you also get a cut from his salary and all of that. Get somebody who wants to. Let's begin to change the narratives. I mean, other countries are catching up with us, or if not that, if would I even say that they've overtaken us? Let's begin to do things the right way. That way, we will remain that big name we used to be on the continent. We used to be a strong force that even when Argentina, Brazil, any country is playing against the Super Eagles, they want to play their life, and they want to spill blood to ensure they get a victory against that. But these days, nowadays, let me put it that way, even the likes of Benin Republic no longer has fear for the Super Eagles. I mean, even the likes of Sierra Leone we can beat them 4-0, we can beat them 5-0, 10-0, and before you know it, they will equalize. So we need to bring back that fear factor to the Super Eagles, and that starts with getting a quality coach for the side.
All right, so keep our fingers crossed and see what comes up after the 3 days, of course, were elapsed. Your Super Zero yield to the demand of the Nigerian Football Federation. I'll see how that one will pan out. But let's talk about the CAF Confederation Cup. The executive governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, on Tuesday, he received a victorious Bender Insurance to honor the team's return from Algeria after 4-3 penalty shootout triumph over Asochel in the 2023 and 2024 CAF Confederation Cup first preliminary round. The governor, who was visibly thrilled about the performance of Bender Insurance and the two-legged continental battle with the Algerian team, redeemed his pledge to insurance. So the governor made a promise to reward insurance handsomely at the Benin airport before they left the state for August last week, Wednesday. Though the amount of money the Governor Obaseki released to the insurance as a token was not disclosed, the team left the Edo State Government House, happy. And we've always seen the support, since last season for Bender Insurance, and this time around at the CAF Confederation Cup, the governor is still actually making the boys proud.
Well, you just said it. To whom much is given, much is expected. And of course, if they are getting such massive support, they have to show that in performance. And I think that's what Bender Insurance have done. It's a good thing that the governor has rewarded them, but there's something about Nigeria that I really don't like. The fact that you're rewarding players and then we don't get to know what you're rewarding players. The fact that players are being signed and we don't get to know how much they are being signed. I mean, this is one thing that, we always do our things in secrecy. Everything around our football, everything around our sport is done, shrouded in secrecy. And that's why when the players have issues, We don't get to know what to say because we don't know. In Europe, once a player is being targeted, they already made public how much they are negotiating. We already know how much the club, his present club is also asking for. All of that is made known in public, but we don't get to see all of that. But then it's a good one that there's a reward system for Bendel Insurance, and of course we know very well that they are one side who have won. I think the CAF Confederations Cup, they won it. That was, I think that was in 2000. Is it 2002, 2003? I can't remember the year. But then, they've done pretty well, and we hope that they continue. One of the things that I've actually made Bendel Insurance, a work in progress for Bendel Insurance is the fact that if you look at the way that team is constituted, in the last 3-4 seasons, even when they went down from they gained promotion to the Nigerian Premier Football League and then went down back and came back, we didn't hear much about exodus of players leaving and exodus of players coming. They've had the majority of the players in the team at the side in a very long time, and once you get that, there's that synergy. There's that blend, within the players, around the team. And I think, aside the fact that they are getting that motivation from the state government, that's also one other thing that is working out from them. And apart from that, I think the players of Bendel Insurance are even well cared for. We remember there was a time when we hear that, the state government, had to open insurance and all of that for them. That is something that, other clubs should also borrow relief from. Our players need to get insured. So that at the end of the day, their kind of job is something that, you might be planning to retire in the next 4 years, but injury can just crop in and then, you just, cut your career abruptly. So if we have, club side, if we have management, of club side who can get all of this insurance and all this support for their players, I think, we might just be on the right path. We might just be on the path of running our football professionally. And I think these are some of the things that are lacking in other clubs. For Bendel Insurance, they've done well. I think they go up against... I'm struggling with
Bekene.
Yes. Now, it's going to be a tough one for them because they have been on the continent, they just qualified to the continent. They've been on the continent for a very long time. But Ares Bekene have been on the continent like season past season. They're always on the continent. So I think, they have more pedigree. They have more experience. They just have to put their ass together, work, and then see how, they can also beef up to ensure that they better, the achievements already recorded from that, their 4-3 penalty achievement that have moved them to the next round of the competition.
All right, let's take a trip to Europe now. The UEFA Champions League group stage draw, holds today in Monaco. What are your expectations from this draw, Sarah?
Well, I'm not expecting anything different from what we have seen. I hope that, they didn't get to make the mistake they made the last time. Remember what happened last time? There was a mix-up before it was eventually corrected. And of course, for me, like I said, I had to cut them some slacks because they are also human beings. Mistakes can come. But we hope this time it is done. And once it's done, that stays not, doing it in the morning. And then, the next evening, that same evening, you're telling us there was a mix-up and then there was an adjustment and all of that. I'm not expecting much. The usual, suspects, from most European clubs. For the EPL, the only difference is the fact that we're going to be seeing a Newcastle, as part of them. But then that's the only team I also fear for because they are a fantastic side. They got the finances, they got the players, they've gone about business in the transfer window quietly. But then I fear for them because they've done fantastically well. We saw them last season. They are one of the surprise teams they are even the surprise teams of last season. But then where I fear for them is the fact that this season, they will not just be playing in the English Premier League. They will be playing in the Champions League. How well can they manage playing in the English Premier League and playing in the UEFA Champions League? I'm waiting to be disappointed by their performance.
Manchester United and Arsenal are back to the Champions League. What are you expecting from them?
Well, for Manchester United, I'm expecting everything big from them. The last time they were in they were in the Champions League. They were not in the Champions League last season. Yeah, but of course, this time around, they are back to the Champions League. For Arsenal, I'm expecting something bigger from them. The fact that they've been able to do some fantastic signings, the likes of Declan Rice, the likes of, Timber, these are players that have shown, that they have something to offer. But then the unfortunate part of, Arsenal is the fact that one man they brought last season that have been injury-prone is Gabriel Jesus. If they can do everything, to correct, I don't know what they can do to correct, this idea of, Gabriel Jesus always, being injured and, off and on, from the team. But then aside that, they still have the firepowers, to make things happen. I mean, the Ghanaian guy is also there. What's his name? Pat is still there. They still have the young man, Saka is also still there. They have the firepower to deliver in the Champions League. We hope that this time around they will do well in the Champions League. I fear for Manchester United. Seriously, it's one club I really have soft spot for them, but I fear for them. I fear for them in the sense that I haven't seen any fantastic signing done by Manchester United this season. And I'm not putting the blame on the coach. I am putting the blame on the Glazers family. Maybe that's a story for another day.
Definitely. Story for another day. So 5 p.m. Today we'll see the draw for the UEFA Champions League group stage. And of course, we'll be bringing you all that you need to know about the draw by 6 p.m. on Sports Extraordinary. Ashira, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
It's good. It's nice, having to do this with you, seeing you in the driver's seat.
Thank you.
It's a thing of joy. And we hope to do it another time again.
All right, don't forget, 6 p.m. is the time. Sports Extraordinary, of course, will be here to bring you all that you need to know about the UEFA Champions League draw. Don't forget, Peace and Unity was the pathways to progress. My name is Kingsley Mado. Thanks for watching.